Stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda,
Hello there, a very warm welcome to WION, broadcasting live from the British capital this hour. You're with me, Katie Pilgrim. Let's get to the headlines. Denmark and the Netherlands give a nod to donate 14 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. The tanks are to be supplied from early 2024. After a second proposed ceasefire in Sudan falls through, continued army parliamentary clashes have left more than 270 civilians dead. Thousands flee Khartoum as multiple countries step in to evacuate their nations. Pakistan's foreign minister to travel to Goa in India for the 8-nation Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet in the first week of May. It's the first time a Pakistani leader will come to India after 2016. Okay, our top story today begins in the UK with the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who has finally declared his wife's direct investments in a childcare firm. Well, the declaration, it comes as Sunak faces a parliamentary probe probe, I should say, and attacks from the opposition Labour Party over conflicts of interest in government contracts for childcare. Well, the declaration, it reveals that Akshata Murthy is a venture capital investor and owns a venture capital investment company called Catamaran Ventures UK Limited with a number of direct shareholders. Now, the holdings include shares in the firm Horror Kids, which was given contracts under a national childcare programme. Sunak had not released Akshata Murthy's shareholdings in previous lists, even when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. Well, the list, it comes out after the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner launched the probe into shares that Sunak's wife holds in childcare agency Horror Kids. Now, the probe, it comes in the wake of Chancellor Jeremy Hunt announcing a plan for childcare caretakers. Under the proposed plan, the incentive will increase if workers sign up through one of the 6 agencies, which includes the childcare agency Horror Kids. Now, the public version of the list includes financial and other interests that are directly relevant to ministers' roles. It also consists of interests held by close relatives. Opposition lawmakers have been demanding a separate release of Sunak's financial interests. Well, 10 Downing Street had refused, saying there are no plans to publish Sunak's interests separately. The list has been prepared by the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, a position which was vacant for 6 months before it was filled last December. Well, the Conservative Party has come in for flack for late publication of the list. The list of interests of all ministers is required to be published twice a year, and the last update came 11 months ago. Well, the Labour Party says the PM showed a complete lack of transparency and urged a review of the process of declaring the list. Well, the list also reviews the interests of other key Tory members as well, like the UK Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab paid from his own pockets for the legal aid during the ongoing probe on him for bullying civil servants in his previous roles. UK Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has also updated his interests too, where he mentioned the property firm he owns jointly with his wife. Okay, lots to unpack here. We've got Renaud Bocard joining us here, a political analyst and a senior lecturer in economics from Lancaster University. Thank you so much for your time. So, has Sunak really done anything wrong here? What's your view?
It's pretty complicated. The challenge for Sunak is that he gets the job largely because he looks, in contrast to Boris Johnson before him, as this serious, responsible, honest businessman. And the fact that his wife has so much money somehow was seen as a way to protect him. Like Boris Johnson needed a lot of money every week just to sustain his lifestyle. Sunak is seen as someone who doesn't need that. But then his wife, being a venture capitalist, she has a lot of different interests. And the role of the ethics advisor is someone who is supposed to check all those interests and to see whether they interfere with the everyday business. In that case, it seems that before announcing the policy on childcare, he did not come back to the ethics advisor, or he didn't think that it was worthwhile doing so. I think in many ways it can be seen as carelessness, but the problem really is that the big challenge for Sunak was to cut with this reputation of Tory sleaze, conflict of interest everywhere, dishonesty. And every time there is a small glitch like that, because in the end it's relatively small money for Sunak's family, but every time there is a small glitch like that, it brings back the suspicion, it brings back the general feeling that the party is corrupt and fails to declare its interest. And if you remember, Boris Johnson didn't lose his job mostly because of the parties, but largely because of failing to tell the truth on relationship with others. So it started with a scandal on contracts during the COVID crisis. It ended up in protecting MPs accused of sexual harassment. But the lack of transparency seemed to have been at the core of the distrust of the Conservative Party. And if Sunak doesn't manage to look at this transparent person, he will fail to bring back the party from the very, very low poll ratings they have at the moment.
And it's interesting the way you've contrasted, Johnson and his behaviour as well. You mentioned sort of carelessness there. Do you think that's the main crime here then?
I do believe that it can very be genuinely the case that in his everyday business, Rishi Sunak is not aware of everything his wife does with the massive amount of money she has. We are talking about someone who is extremely rich, extremely wealthy, and in some ways you can expect that it's not his job to do that. So the problem is really the system. How come there is no more precise, no better tracking of his interest by the ethics advisor? I fully understand when they come and they say, I don't want to reveal my wife's every single financial interest. It makes complete sense. They have a right to some sort of privacy. But this right of privacy needs to be counterbalanced by the fact that every actual interest is declared. So I think what this calls at the moment for is for a larger role for this ethics advisor who could be in charge of live monitoring of announcement every time there is a major policy announcement, being able to check back with the Prime Minister and indeed with every single possible minister involved in the process that there is no personal interest directly or for the family. And what also hurts, I think, Rishi Sunak a bit, is that there are many examples of MPs and members of the government who, in similar situations, have voluntarily declared family interest. So the fact that he didn't do it makes him look a little bit, at the very least, careless. But conflict of interest, once it starts, there is suspicion everywhere, and it becomes very, very difficult to show that you are very clean when everything rests on trust. It's based on the fact that everyone trusts that the declarations are accurate. When there is one mistake, people may start doubting about the rest too.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. As you say, trust is at the centre of all of this. Renaud, thank you so much indeed. That's Renaud Faucard, there, political analyst and senior lecturer in economics from Lancaster University. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
A survey report in Britain, it brings out what it calls anti-Hindu behaviour and racist mindsets in UK schools. Well, racism issues faced by Hindu school children and their families have been highlighted in this. So as per the survey, and this has been done by Henry Jackson, the Society, 51% of parents who were surveyed said that their child faced anti-Hindu behaviour in schools. It also found that in the past, only 1% of schools with Indian students reported such Hindu hate. Well, of a sample of 998 parents across the UK, 19% said that the school is able to identify anti-Hindu hate whenever such an incident occurs. Only 15%, however, believe that schools adequately address such incidents. Another point that has emerged from this is that a spurt in bullying of Hindu children after Narendra Modi became Indian Prime Minister and Article 370 was revoked. So the survey is the first of its kind in the UK that talks about big loopholes in the religious education curriculum. The report also mentions the similar behaviour towards other religious minorities in the UK, saying such experiences of alienation and bullying tend to escape official notice. Well, the report did stress on the importance of more studies on experience of all religious minority students in the UK. It called for development of new methods and standards to report such incidents in schools. The report also urged schools to take a more proactive approach towards identifying and preventing anti-Hindu hate. Well, for more, we are joined by our correspondent in the British capital, Alex Isat. This makes for quite depressing reading, Alex.
Well, this latest study has been conducted by UK-based think tank Henry Jackson Society. They found that hate against Hindu children is widespread in British schools, and that as many as 51% of parents of Hindu children that were surveyed had revealed that their child had experienced hate in school. Now, they say that it's because Hinduism is being taught in a way that they don't appreciate, and that that there is misunderstanding around any other religions within the school, especially through a specific faith lens, which weighs inappropriate weight to gods, and therefore Hinduism is getting missed on the key concept. Now, this study also found that students of Asian and African ethnicities are least likely to report that they're being bullied. Now, this figure is as low as 16% for students of Pakistani origin. This study also found that children from other religious minorities in Britain may also be experiencing alienation and bullying, and that sadly it goes unnoticed by officials. This is Alex Isaac reporting from London for WION World is One.
Okay, we're going to move on now and talk about the latest situation in Ukraine, because on Wednesday, Ukraine said it had received the first Patriot seen as one of the most advanced US air defense systems. Additionally, Washington announced a new $325 million military aid package. It includes much needed artillery rounds as well as anti-armor weapons as well. Well, Ukraine's defense minister said, and I'm quoting here, "Our beautiful Ukrainian sky becomes more secure because Patriot air defense systems have arrived." He added that the United States, Germany and the Netherlands had kept their word. Well, late last year, the US said it would provide Ukraine with Patriot air defense systems as Russia pounded energy infrastructure from the air. Russian President Vladimir Putin dismissed the announcement at the time, saying that Moscow will find an antidote. Germany announced in January that it was following the United States in sending one of the most advanced missile defense batteries to Ukraine. The Netherlands said it would supply parts of a Patriot air defense system to Ukraine, specifically 2 launchers and missiles. Well, the Patriot is a surface-to-air guided air and missile defense system, currently in use worldwide, including in several NATO countries. Remember, Patriot stand for Phased Array Tracking Radar to intercept on target. The current variants are equipped with advanced interception missiles and high-performance radar systems. The role of the Patriot is to defend against airborne threats. As part of an integrated air and missile defense system, the system includes a short response time, the ability to engage multiple targets simultaneously, and the ability to resist electronic jamming. Meanwhile, the new US aid package also includes munitions for the HIMARS precision rocket system, anti-tank mines as well, and over 9 million rounds of small arms ammunition. According to the US State Department, the latest package brings total aid to Ukraine since Russia's invasion to more than $35.4 billion. Separately, the Ukrainian army said that France's light AMX-10 RC armoured fighting vehicles are already in service there. Okay, ChatGPT is in focus once again. German trade union groups have written to the European Union to beef up draft AI rules as they point to threats of their copyrights. Well, the group that involves over 140,000 authors and performers underlined the growing worries related to generative AI that can mimic humans and create text and images based on prompts. The group also called for providers of such technology to be liable for any misinformation generated by the chatbots. Well, the petitioners also said the likes of Microsoft, Google, and Amazon must not be allowed to operate central platform services to distribute digital content. Six-year-old free climber Alan Roberts, also known as the French Spider-Man, he scaled a 38-story skyscraper in the Parisian business area of La Défense. And he did so in support of the French people protesting against the pension reform. Well, he stated that the passing of the pension bill meant that, combined with a loss of income due to the COVID pandemic, he would have to keep on working and climbing for longer. We're going to leave you with these visuals.
I'm here to show support to all the people protesting the pension reform. As usual, the government decided to use the magic weapon, the Article 49(3). Everyone is against, but they still decide to use force and go through with this. What I would like to say to Emmanuel Macron, to come down to earth.
Okay, let's go to the world of entertainment now. And are you a die-hard movie buff? Well, if you are, then you have a golden chance to grab your favourite Hollywood items. So over a century's worth of Hollywood memorabilia will be going under the hammer starting on April 22nd. Called Hollywood Classic and Contemporary, the auction, it celebrates 100 years of pop culture. It spans from 1917 to the modern day, with items from major franchises including Terminator, Harry Potter and Star Wars.
It's really incredible. Over 1,300 items going on the auction block this weekend. It's our Hollywood Classic and Contemporary. So we have items going back to Tita Barra and Cleopatra in 1917, right up to movies that we know. The Harry Potter franchise is well represented. John Travolta's Saturday Night Fever, you have Iron Man, you have Discovery, you have so many incredible items in this one room.
But the centrepiece of the auction is John Travolta's white suit from Saturday Night Fever. But it isn't the only costume going under the hammer.
We have over 100 items from Marilyn Monroe, including an iconic bathing suit designed by Billy Trevia. That's a really interesting piece. Amazing outfits from Elizabeth Taylor, again, an amazing icon. Then you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, the leather jacket. You have the black suit that's, of course, John Travolta wore in Pulp Fiction. The yellow trench coat and hat, Dick Tracy. On and on. It's just a treasure trove of really iconic pieces.
But apart from costumes, this auction will also be a blessing for Potterheads.
And we have 9 wands in the sale at different price points, 2 to 3,000, 6 to 8, 8 to 10,000. I'm holding actually Harry Potter's wand from Deathly Hallows 2010, and I wish I could perform some wizardry here, but again, these items are highly collectible, highly sought after. This one from 2005, 2007, Professor Dumbledore, Lord Vandervoort, Ralph Fiennes played the character. So really amazing items.
Well, Hollywood Classic and Contemporary auction will take place on April 22nd to the 23rd, in person in Beverly Hills and also online at Julian Auctions. Okay, let's get to some sport now, and it's going to be a rematch of last year's semi-finals as Manchester City wrap up a commanding 4-1 aggregate victory over Bayern Munich to set up a last four clash against holders Real Madrid. Well, City won the first leg 3-0 and were held to a 1-1 draw in Munich. Well, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola named an unchanged playing 11 from the first leg, while Thomas Tuchel made 2 alterations to Bayern.